Everyone, we're now going to use Visual Studio Community to do our C++ assignment. So once you get with Windows started, so I'm now going to actually launch Visual Studio. So I'm going to type in Visual Studio and select the application. At that point, Visual Studio will start up. Now, first time you run it, you're not going to see a bunch of recent projects in here. What I'm going to do is walk you through how to set up your project. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select towards the bottom right, create a new project. All right, once that pops open, you will now be presented with a wizard to sort of decide what kind of project you want to do. So in here, you might want to notice that I have C++ selected, Windows, and console application. So notice there are a lot of languages that we could use in Visual Studio Community. However, we want to make sure it's C++, Windows, and console. Now for your labs, you're going to want to select console app. So that's what I have my mouse hovered on. So I'm going to select that and do next. Once you get to that point, you're going to give your project a name. So here I'm just going to call this Module 1. Okay, maybe this is all the code I have for Module 1. And then you're going to select the location for where you want to put it. I would definitely recommend you create a folder in your documents. Maybe call this Programming 1. And within Programming 1, you will put your project for all your labs for Module 1. So I'm going to hit Create. And off it goes to create. It's creating my project right now. And there we go. Visual Studio has started. So if you'll notice here, we're in Module 1. Okay. So to make sure everything works well, I'm going to go ahead and actually run everything to make sure it builds. Everything's hooked up correctly. So in here, I'm going to do using namespace standard. That way I don't have to call the namespace in my cout. Okay. So once I've done that, you'll notice that Visual Studio puts some comments at the bottom. You can go ahead and delete that. You want to make sure on the top you have your author's name. You have your date. Okay, what is today's date? Say it's October the 5th, 2024, and the purpose of your lab. Demo of using Visual Studio. All right, off we go. So now to make sure everything's running correctly, I'm going to run my code. And if you'll notice, we get the terminal window with Hello World, and based on the code, that's exactly what we expect. And here is where you could go ahead and finish and complete your Module 1. So I'm going to cout. That's just as a demo. This would be Module 1, Lab 1. Save it. Okay, actually I want to finish, do an inline here. All right, save it. Again, I'm going to run it to make sure it works. There we go. So all is good. Let's say we finish Module 1 and we want to Module 1 Lab 1 and we want to start Module 1 Lab 2. What we can actually do here, select our solution. It's the very top kind of folder setup. I'm going to right click. Here I want to add. What do I want to add? I want to add a new project. Okay, so I go through, make sure C++, Windows, console, and this is actually, we're going to have multiple labs in the same solution. So I'm going to select console app again, hit next, and I'll call this one Lab 2. Create. And as you'll notice here, I have another project in my solution. This one's called Lab 2. Okay. Now let's just demonstrate that we can run these independently. Well, let's go, before we do that, using namespace standard. Okay. Now we can eliminate the call to the namespace. Hello world from lab 2, just to show you that I'm going to run lab 2. Now, if we actually execute it now, it'll still run lab 1. What we want to do is we want to tell it that our startup is actually going to be lab 2. So you select lab 2. I'm going to right click. And as you notice here, there's an option that I can set as startup project. I'm going to select that. And now I'm going to run it. And hello world from lab 2. So you can have multiple labs in your same solution. Just remember, if you want to select which one to run here, again, I'm going to select module 1. I'm going to go back to that one. Right click, set as startup project, and now I can run lab 1. See, from lab 1. All right, everybody, there you go. Good luck and happy coding.